So have you seen all the headlines that are a lot like, oh, I don't know, this one that are like 0 calorie sweetener linked to heart attack and stroke study finds. And it's this sugar called, well, not real sugar, an artificial sweetener called erythritol. And it's not just this website, right? There are, if you go and you look on the internets and you type in erythritol, everywhere is what is erythritol? Sugar substitute linked to heart attack and stroke. Erythritol, artificial sweetener linked to heart attack and stroke. People are like pondering, is it so? Some people are like, yes, it's so. Some people are a little bit more cautious. They're like, I don't really know. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring here, though. We have a ton of different articles. Some of them like people that I like PBS, like they're like popular artificial sweetener linked to higher clotting risk. Like they're really going for it. And I was like, oh, this pains my soul to just come right out. You'll see why it pains my soul later. And places like the Cleveland Clinic, like they're going for it. And I read this, and when I first read these headlines, I immediately thought of my beloved. The first thing I Googled when I saw this. Right, let me know in the comments or the chat if you've seen these headlines. I was like, oh my gosh, my Diet Coke, please, please do not have erythritol in my Diet Coke. We do not. We do not have that in the Diet Coke. Very fortunately, that is I think it's aspartame. We're fine. They've studied that one a lot. We seem good. But this did intrigue me, right? So I went and did the thing that I hate, right? If you know me at all, you know I hate looking into real research. Like research was not my favorite class in nurse practitioner school or in nursing school. But I went and I looked at this study and I was like, oh, wait, because a lot of people were freaking out on the internet, like on my social media. And about this sugar, like I know we're not going to be able to have this. This is the erythritol is the sugar it's in like Truvia. I think it's in stevia. They usually mix it with monk fruit. In order to make things, give it like the powdery substance that kind of goes with those things that makes it an artificial sweetener. It's used all over the place. It seems like you can buy it just by itself in fancy places like grocery stores, like Whole Foods and other like more naturopathic places. Like Walmart doesn't have this. I'm out of my league. But it initially, I was like, this doesn't look great. This doesn't look great. And I don't love it. Then I read the study, right? And we're going to read the study together and we're going to just look at it and see, does this actually hold up? And do we need to be scared? But first, let's go through and see what exactly they are sharing. Okay. We'll go and we'll all see if we get scared together, right? It's going to be a good lesson in just in how things can get a little bit twisted. And in case you can't tell, it gets a little bit twisted. Hello, friends. If we're here live, let me know how we're feeling today. I went to the grocery store on Tuesday. I don't know why I always seem to go to the grocery store on Tuesdays, because Tuesdays I have lives. So I really should just hide in my house and like hope that everything goes well. So I feel like I'm rushing into this like a hurricane. Why we went as a family. So it was a sight to behold. A lot of strangers gave us a lot of acts of kindness. So you always know that you look like a mess when people just start like doing very kind things for you. They're like, hey, here, does your kid want to color? Like, what is my child doing that you feel the need to do this? But thank you, kind stranger. Anyway, let me know how you're doing. Scott's still sick. I'm sorry you're still sick. That's not fun. I also, Mel, wish that chat allowed GIFs and memes very, very much. I hope that one day it does that. That would be a delight. JJ says, this just in, we must eat and drink nothing. We just live off of oxygen and water. Yeah, that's everything. I don't even go on the side of the internet that talks about like everything is toxic because I just can't. I'm like, I am barely like getting by here. I don't need to be told that my goldfish that I ingest by enormous amounts are toxic and that I'm feeding them to my children. We don't need that to happen. I will leave this for the end. I'll leave it for the end. It's been an adventure. So let's take a look at our article, right? So 0-calorie sweeteners. We'll see how we get ramped up. Also, replay crew, hello, welcome. Didn't mean to leave you out. 0-calorie sweetener linked to heart attack, stroke study finds. Immediately, that sounds terrible, right? I'm like, oh, well, then I won't be eating that. That sounds real bad. A sugar replacement called erythritol used to add or bulk sweeten stevia, monk fruit, keto reduced sugar products. It's also huge in like the keto world, apparently. I'm not in that world, but apparently it is. I had never honestly heard of this until then. I mean, I've heard of stevia and Truvia and all of those, but never enough to really dive into it at all. But here we are. has been linked to blood clotting. Bad. That's for things like blood clots in hearts equals heart attack, in brain equals stroke. So, oh, like they say, read, Liz, just keep reading. Stroke, heart attack, and death, according to a new study. The degree of risk was not modest, said the lead study author, Dr. Stanley Hazen, director of the Center for Cardiovascular Diagnostic and Prevention at the Cleveland Clinic Learner Research Institute. This is green because we're just going to put a little like feather in our hat, okay? Because I saw an article about this from the Cleveland Clinic, which immediately made me think it was way more legit, okay? And I will it's one of those things that when I used to tell my patients how to Google, I would kind of give them names, right? Of when I come across things in the media, I look and see who else is talking about this, right? Is this just like the big anchor, like CNN, ABC, Fox? Is this these people talking about these people? Is it them talking about it? Or do we have like the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, Philadelphia, like the Children's Hospital, Philadelphia? Like, are those people weighing in on this? Because if they're weighing in on it, I give it more credence, right? I'm like, this might be more legit. It's how I used to tell my patients to Google stuff. I was like, don't really Google that. Even Healthline is a pretty good resource. Look at those. So when I saw the Cleveland Clinic had done this, I was like, oh, okay, that's great. Maybe this is something we need to pay attention to. So it goes on to say people with existing heart risk factors for heart disease, such as diabetes, were twice as likely to experience a heart attack or a stroke if they had high levels of erythritol in their blood, according to the study that was just published on Monday in the journal Nature Medicine. I have linked the study down below if you would like to peruse it, but we will be kind of going through it in a moment. I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for what we're looking at. If your blood level of erythritol was in the top 25% compared to the bottom 25%, you were 2 times as likely to have a heart attack or a stroke. It's on par with the strongest cardiac risk factors like diabetes. Remember, this is all what they are claiming, right? This is all what they are claiming. So we're waiting. We're waiting to really look at this evidence, okay? It definitely makes people nervous when you start seeing words like that, right? I understandably understand why all of the like after seeing headlines like that and reading words like this, everyone went on social media and on TikTok and we're like, this is, don't eat this. Just hold, just wait. The Calorie Control Council did not know that was a thing. Calorie Control Council, an industry association, told CNN. So these people are kind of rebutting it. Said the results of this study are contrary to decades of scientific research showing reduced calorie sweeteners like erythritol are safe and evidenced by global regulatory permissions for their use in food and beverages. So the people of science came out and said, look, we found a thing, we think it kills you. And the people who it affects, like the people who are the Calorie Control Council, who obviously wants less calorie things, took it back and said, whoa, my dude, we think it's pretty safe. So you've got to fight. We've already got to fight, which is always excellent. I'm here for that. The results should not be extrapolated to the general population, as the participants in the intervention were already at risk for cardiovascular events. Now, when I read this line, I was like, wait, what? What do you mean they were already at risk for an increased cardiac event? Because usually in a study like this, if you're going to come out and say something this bold, you've narrowed down the pool of like you've sorted people into buckets and you've kind of compared them and you've decided that independently this erythritol thing makes you more likely to have an event. At least that's what the article was seeming to kind of say. And now you're saying, yeah, but all the people we studied were already more likely to have an event. So I read that and I was like, I'm going to have to read the article. Dang it, you're going to make me read the article. So we will do that. But first, what is erythritol, in case you are also curious like me, after immediately realizing it's not in my precious Diet Coke? I'm fine. Everything's going to be fine. It is a sugar alcohol like xylitol or sorbitol, a carb found naturally in many fruits and vegetables. I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. It has 70% the sweetness of sugar and is considered 0 calorie according to experts. It is an extremely popular additive to keto and other low carb products and foods marketed to people with diabetes. So again, when we're saying this product is highly marketed to people with diabetes, we have to understand also that diabetes is one of the biggest contributors to someone then having a heart attack or a stroke. So I was like, did they control for that? Let's just grab that and put that in the back of our minds. Okay. Because we're like, I mean, it would make sense if someone is eating a lot of this and they had higher levels in their blood. But is it the erythritol that's doing it now? Or is it the diabetes that is causing you to eat this because we told you, hey, will you please go eat lower sugar things? I'm sure they parsed that out, right? Let's just remain hopeful. Erythritol is also the largest ingredients in many of the natural stevia monk fruit products because stevia and monk fruit are 200 times sweeter than sugar. So they need to like bulk it up and give it a little bit of a fluff, right? They go on to say that this was an unexpected discovery. They were kind of looking for general things that might also contribute to heart disease, heart attacks, strokes, things like that. And they happened to stumble on this. They were like, oh, look, levels of this are higher in people. Let's do a study on it. And then it gets also very interesting when I read this. The human body also naturally creates erythritol. It says it's in low amounts that they wouldn't measure, or that it would be like, that wouldn't be what they were measuring here. But that also put a weird thing in my noggin where I was like, wait a second. So this isn't something that we only can consume. This is also something that we can find in the body. So the body can make it. So first of all, we're saying people with diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol are more likely to have an event, which we know, which this study is now claiming. And also the body can make this. So do we know if it's levels that the body makes? Like, do we actually know if this is levels that the body makes, or if this is something that you are adding to the body? And I was like, of course they've controlled for that. They would have so the way you would figure that out is you would have a group of people, right, who you would put them over here. They would have no other comorbid conditions. They wouldn't have high blood pressure. They wouldn't have diabetes or high cholesterol, and they would not consume erythritol. And that would be our control group. So we can compare things, right? That's how good studies are made. Of course, this study has this, right, where they're comparing to a different group. And that is when, Zoe, I had my own unexpected discovery. An unexpected discovery with dramatic effect. Because they don't. There's no real control. There's no control group in this study, as we'll find. And they did not study ingested erythritol levels. They only studied what was in the blood. And we'll explain what that means in a second. But this study quickly I'm not saying it has no value. I think it's a great diving board. But they didn't take it as like the diving board. They were like, oh, this would be something to look more into. They seem to have like published it a little bit early with not a lot of great science behind it and are making a lot of bold claims about an interesting, unexpected event that they found. They're just like a few steps before us. Okay. So this is going to be interesting. They did go on to say that they had healthy volunteers, 8 of them. Okay. This was the only thing that they studied in this whole study where people consumed erythritol, which surprised me because I was like, wait, aren't we studying something that people ingest? Interestingly enough, no. They only studied 8 people. That's not a good size. So in science, we like huge numbers, right? Thousands and thousands, usually at least, if we're going to come out with a study like this, so that we know that this is not just like a happenstance. It could have happened by accidents. So they gave 8 people erythritol and said that if you ate 30 grams of erythritol, which would be the equivalent of having like a pint of reduced or like low sugar ice cream, that they were found to have high levels of erythritol in their blood. And that level was associated with what they thought might give you a clotting disorder. But again, we didn't compare it to anything, and we only had 8 people eat it. And we didn't test them long-term to see if anything happened to them. So we have no science here. We have the beginnings of science, okay? But then we took it, and we ran with it, but it has no foundation. So, and this is the frustrating part, Matt said, why would a source that's supposed to be trustworthy publish such a weak study? I don't know, right? And we've seen this before, right? Very good journals. So Nature is a pretty well-regarded journal, right? These are peer-reviewed journals where you're supposed to come and have a lot of people come in and look at the science and be like, this is a decent article. This makes sense. It was well done. Let's go put it out there. That does not seem to have happened here, but that has happened right before, right? When, famously, it was The Lancet is another popular one. The Lancet published that horrible study years and years ago about the MMR vaccine dealing with that led to a huge vaccine hesitancy thing that we still see to this day. That was put out in The Lancet. That was huge. We've covered something else like the British or the New England Journal of Medicine has posted something that we've covered before that like they immediately had to redact. Like people, they post these things and it's just, it's disappointing. And the media has now grabbed it and absolutely run with it. And yikes. It's a mess. So let's take a look really quick at what the article actually says. Or before we do that, let's take a step back and kind of, if you're unfamiliar with research evidence, I'll show you the pyramid. Okay. We have a pyramid. I speak as if I normally ever care about research. No. If you would have told past Liz, one day you're going to do a live stream about a research study, past Liz would have slapped you. Anyway, here is, if you're looking at we call it hierarchy of evidence. So at the tippy top, the best evidence, this is when we start making recommendations to the public, is a meta-analysis, right? And that's the golden standard. At the very bottom here, we have like case reports and opinions. So this is people being like, I've worked for a long time and this is what I've seen. As we go up the ranks, right, we have more and more informed decisions. I picked this website, by the way, because it said not scientific evidence, YouTube videos. So just remember, all of this is not medical advice. It's just education. Okay. Natural Health, Collective Evolution, Green Med Info, all of these. This disclaimer just gave me a giggle. What we have here are different levels as you go up. You add more things to narrow it down to be like, we are controlling more and more variables, right? Controlling more and more variables so that we know that in this case, erythritol is the thing that's actually making change over here, right? Because we want the thing over here or at the beginning. We want to know, is this causing this, right? We can never really prove causation, but there's a lot of correlation out there, right? We can get close to proving causation. We can say within 0.05% of a doubt, this is probably causing this. That's usually the standard. That's where we have meta-analysis and randomized control trials. This study comes right about in a cohort, sort of cross-sectional, like it's in this orangey zone, right? It's in this zone where we said we looked at data. We didn't compare it to anything. So we have no idea if this is the actual effect, between when we're comparing two groups, which is not great. This type of evidence is really good for bouncing, like I said, our diving board into the pit of other research studies. This is something that happens where someone would say, I found this study that was published in this Nature, and I think I'm going to do more research on it. I'm going to then create a randomized control trial where I have a group who's never had heart disease, diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. And then I'm going to not give them erythritol, and then I'm going to have another group who has that and is eating erythritol, and another group that already has all the things and give them erythritol, and then a group that doesn't. And we can compare all of them. And then we're going to be able to say, hey, in the groups that did have erythritol, even when you remove all risk factors, they still died more. They still had more heart attacks and strokes. And that would give you a bigger leg to stand on to say, hey, this causes that because we sort of removed or controlled all the other factors. That's where we have these beautiful randomized control trial. Randomized just means you get put into groups willy-nilly, right? There's no, it makes it the more random, the better, because your data just could be unbiased, right? So we're not there though. We're in the orange. And then the meta-analysis is the absolute best. That would be something that they would probably want to do long-term. And that's when you take a bunch of randomized control trials and combine all of the data from them to say not just one study, but 12 found the exact same thing. And that's where we get guidelines. Okay. So, in my opinion, they're phrasing this as if this is like a great evidence type of thing, like a randomized control trial. But no, my dudes, no, we are pretty solidly in this orange here. And that is it might be being kind. So, here's the article. Okay. We have the artificial sweetener erythritol and cardiovascular event risk. And it goes through and it tells you a whole lot. This whole bunch up top is just telling you all about erythritol and how they happened upon this, what do they call it? An unexpected finding, or why they're even looking into this. And then it goes into the results of how they did this study. It's actually a little bit out of order, just in case you're, a research nerd and you're looking at this and you're like, this is in a weird order. They usually put the methods higher. The methods is how they did this study. And you can go and I said, read it if you would like. I did. It was very boring. That's why I'm making this video for you. But it goes right to the results. It was just a weird thing that my ADHD did not like that. I was like, I'd like it to be predictable. Okay. Why are we going right to the results, not the methods? But here we are. So what they did is they took a few different cohorts of people who already had heart disease or risk factors for it, drew their blood and said, oh yeah, people who have this also have, or who have had events also have higher levels of this in their blood. Or they took a cohort of people with risk factors and said, oh yeah, these people who had higher levels in their blood did go on to develop these things. Again, the problem here being they could have had higher rates of heart attack and stroke because they had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes, because those are all risk factors for having a heart attack and a stroke. They never narrowed it down and made it so that it was just, the actual thing. They also never made it so that it was ingested, right? They just checked what was in the blood. And as we learned over here, erythritol, your body can make it, okay? It is something that is, so I Googled, where does this come from? It took me down quite a pathway, but erythritol is recognized in the human metabolic product of glucose, which makes this even more interesting. So erythritol is something that is produced when your body breaks down glucose or sugar. It's synthesized through the pentose phosphate pathway, just in case you were curious. But that to me, now I am not the research study person here, but it would also tell me that if you were breaking down, who's breaking down more sugar? Typically, right? Typically, we see people who increased sugar consumption is also associated with high blood pressure, high blood sugar, diabetes, and high cholesterol. So, do we think that perhaps humans who are consuming more sugar would also have high cholesterol, diabetes, and high cholesterol, which would put them at risk for a stroke or a heart attack? We don't know. I mean, that would be my assumption. We didn't study that assumption in this because we didn't have people actually eat the erythritol. So that's another problem, right? Because in this study, you would want to make sure, since there's multiple sources of erythritol, if erythritol was not produced by the human body, this would also simplify this, right? Because we would say, oh, there is more of a link here, because the only way to get this substance or this alcohol into the body, because it breaks down into an alcohol, is to consume it. But no, the body can also make it by breaking down glucose. So there's two ways in. So you really need to, again, control for one of those groups by having some people eat it and some people not. But we didn't do that. We had 8 people eat it, and then we said, oh, your levels are higher, which duh. They also checked it like very shortly after, which doesn't give us long-term data. And it doesn't tell us in the long term, did those people who ate it have heart attacks and strokes? We just said, well, the levels were higher. But we also, when we said, well, what does a high level mean? We said, well, I don't know. It's found in people who also have other risk factors of having a heart attack and a stroke. And that is basically what this article comes down to, is a whole lot of correlation. Yes. And not a lot of causation, because we did not reduce any or take away any risk factors whatsoever. Now, could this be something that does actually become something? Absolutely. I am not in any way saying that this is not, that it's not going to, in a few years, a study is going to come out and be like, hey, we did all the other things, right? We did all the other things and we made these groups. We narrowed it down. So really the biggest difference we saw in the groups was people who ingested erythritol. We might find that. And that is a study that should go off of this study, right? That is something that this study naturally would say. They should say at the end of the article, at the end of the discussion, it should say more research. This would be a great thing to research further, or this is what we are going to look into second. We're going to have people actually consume the erythritol and see, what happens, or do we find anything there? But we didn't do that. So we've taken data that was like still a baby on the diving board. We threw it into the deep end of the pool and we said, you're grown up. You're grown up enough, even though we have there's nothing really tying to it. It's a terrible study for what it's trying to be. You know what I mean? In itself, it's an interesting observational study, right? It puts us firmly in that orange zone where we can say the orange zone is wonderful, of our little hierarchy that we had, right? This is where we would love to find things. If you're a human who loves to research, these are where you go to find your diving board, to find where you can launch from. This is where you get those ideas, right? It's not where we make recommendations really from. Now, if you see this, right, and you're someone who's like, I don't want to risk it at all, great. Don't eat erythritol. That's totally fine. Cut out all those products. Just know, and that's totally fine. So that's the conversation that should have been happening. If they were going to publish this at all, I don't think they should have really published it at all, because we just don't know enough about this in any way, shape, or form to make an educated opinion. But that should have been how it was presented. Was we found that not people who ate erythritol, but people who just had erythritol in their body, which, by the way, your body does make, they do tend to have heart attacks and strokes more often. However, we also only tested people who were already at a high chance of having a heart attack and stroke. So maybe you might also want to know that, reader, right? But that's not the way it was really presented. And it makes me annoyed. So here we are. That's what you should know about this going forward. It was kind of based on science that was not meant to be taken as a guideline, except it kind of came across as a guideline, and the guy doubled down on it. He also is associated with the Cleveland Clinic. I was going to show you that. Which just kind of was annoying, because that's usually one of those websites where you're like, oh yeah, this is legit. I feel like I can send people here and they can get trustworthy information. But they posted this: erythritol sweetener, major health risks. So again, that's definitely not saying may cause major health risks. They're like, nope, this common sugar substitute is linked to a heart attack and stroke. Linked is a strong word. We would like to say has been found maybe correlated with it, right? And you'll hear people say correlated versus causation. A lot of things can be correlated to, that doesn't mean they're causal, right? We have very, very different. Every time I wear a blue shirt, it rains. That's probably maybe because your wardrobe is mostly blue, right? Not because you have power over the weather. But here we go. So this made me sad, to be honest, that the Cleveland Clinic, who is usually pretty reputable, would post this and really doubled down on it. And kind of really was promoting the fact that it was a huge risk factor for clotting. Again, if you're watching this and you're like, oh, that just having it be in this study whatsoever, is enough for me to not touch it, go for it. That's obviously, you get to do what you want with your body. It just makes me annoyed when people blow something up and give it inferences that it has that it has no inferential power over, right? This wasn't well studied. The study we had no control group. We compared it to nothing, which still blows my mind. We also didn't make people eat it. Goodness. This is a good conspiracy. I like this. Justine says, sounds like a sugar manufacturing conspiracy. I like this. I didn't even think of this angle. That's big sugar. Yeah. Having sugar come out and, be like, oh no, look, look who did this. This, all these other things are definitely evil. I didn't even look to see who sponsored the article. and I'm not good enough at them to be able to really quickly look and see how all of that works. So just a kind of friendly, healthy reminder, that when you see articles like this that are quoting some new research, uh, maybe read them if you have the ability to do so and see where it stands on the is this a legit research study front. And if you're reading it and you're like, but wait, where's if it has no control group, I'd like you to just immediately place it somewhere else and be like, that's a great diving board experiment. Okay. Great diving board experiment. We'll come back to it with real research or a more robust research later. Yikers. I do have a video that I made forever ago when the pandemic was starting and everyone was like, I researched this on Facebook, and I made it and then no one watched it, which I knew they wouldn't, but it was my hopeful attempt to teach people how to read a research article and know if it's like legit or not. So I forgot to link that, but I'll leave that link down below if you're interested. And it just goes into like, if you were not coming from a background where you know how to read research articles, how could you identify a bogus research article? What are things you should look for in them? Goes over our little hierarchy. But today's takeaway is if you have no control group and it's not randomized, we're probably not going to be looking at that as something that we need to, take it away. Take it away and leave it. Zoe watched it. I cite your video in a discussion board for class. Oh, thanks. I appreciate you. That's funny. That's interesting that my video has a citation on a discussion board, which are kind of the bane of my existence. So there we go. Any questions, class? Any questions? Unsure if that made sense, but when I was reading it, I just kept going deeper and deeper, and I was like, this is even more of a mess. even more of a mess than we already had. They pretty much, I'm looking right now at the table of who they were researching. Yeah. Everyone on cholesterol. Just a mess. I was like, why did this study happen like this? Why? A mess. So thank you for reading this research article. You're welcome. Anytime. I struggle reading research articles and I can't stay focused. I also struggle very much. This one caught my attention though, because I was like, that seems sketch. We don't like the sketchy. I'm really glad I didn't buy into it, because what if I made a video? I had added it originally to my list of things to cover this Friday with the panel of different highlights in healthcare for the week. So that would have been really funny and embarrassing if I just pulled it. And I was glad I did my homework for once and read through it. And I was like, wait, I think it's a red flag. Here we are. Here we go. And went for it. Okay, so AdChem did ask forever ago, toilet seat update. So if you watched our video last Friday, a child in my house treated the toilet seat more as an amusement park ride somehow and tore it off while I was live streaming. And I was getting texts from my husband who's like, a child just tore our toilet seat off. And then we had to go replace it. So we have the new toilet seat. Have we put it on yet? No, because that would be the responsible, mature thing to do. It's sitting next to the toilet. There is no contact between the toilet seat and the rest of the toilet. So it is now fully loose because I have 2 children who just hulked it off even further. And have people fallen in the toilet? Yes. Has it been very messy and a hot mess? Also, yes. If you want to come over to my house right now, it's like birth control. Just the amount of chaos and things that are falling apart. There's holes in wall, all within the last week. I feel they're just destroying my entire home. I'm like, does anyone want to come over and just be like, what kind of wild beast did you let into here? And I'd be like, yeah, just think about all your reproductive choices. Okay. They're great. They're so cute, but man, they can just destroy your home. I literally walked in last night, sitting, giving my children a bath, and one of them had reached around the bath and was just scooping out drywall, just scooping it out with a paper clip. I was like, what would possess you? What? What would possess you? Why? Good Lord, I can't even replace a toilet seat. That's why I got married. Scott. I'm sure YouTube could teach me how to replace a toilet seat, but I think that is one of those unspoken things that has fallen to him. We have like, the unspoken things that are just going to be changed by other people. It's sitting there right now. It's in purgatory until one of us gets motivated enough in order to do something about it. You would think that would be rapidly, since my children keep falling into the toilet in all states of use. As you can imagine, that gets really disgusting really quickly. But no, we're kind of just, we're just tired. Okay. We're just tired. Oh my goodness. Yeah. A mess. I grew up in a house with 2 boys, very familiar with the toilet seat suddenly being up or gone. Yeah, it occurred. I saw someone asked how it happened. Someone ran at the toilet and then jumped, like twisted to land on it. And they succeeded very impressively. Run, twist, seat, but their momentum kept them carrying over. So they in the seat then went and slammed into the wall. Oh, I love that. Love that for me. We do have more than one bathroom, but it's the only one downstairs. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be walking upstairs. And they certainly are not going to be walking upstairs to do that. It's like a 2-minute job, but when you're so done, Chad, Mr. Midwife, would you like to come and change the toilets? When you're like just so overwhelmed with life and you put something off because it's like this one tiny thing, like changing a toilet seat, and you just can't get yourself to do it. That's where I am right now. I'm like at capacity. And so this one thing that would be so fast, I'm sure it's easy. I'm sure I could look it up. Maybe tomorrow when I'm with them, I will do it and we will get there. But there we go. That is where we are. My kid peed all over the living room. He's 5. I can never have guests over again. Yes, there we go. Perfect. Mr. Midwife's going to come and help us out. Mr. Midwife, I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. Yeah, you've probably seen this and far more in your life with your group of human. Oh, someone else asked about my, so we're all done with the research science part. If you have any other questions, feel free to let us know. Zoe asked, wait, what about the neighbors in the tree updates? Now we're just in the gossip hour. We're just here to chat. So fun, not so fun story, right? Behind our house, we have woods. And I wish I could give you an amount. I'm realizing that I have I can't, part of the ADHD is like, you don't have time awareness. So people are like, how long will this take you? I'm like, obviously 5 minutes. And it's like 2.5 hours later. And they're like, you said 5 minutes. I'm like, well, time's a relative construct. I have that with distance too. So I was describing this to someone earlier and I was like, it's at least like 100 yards. My husband's like, you have no idea what 100 yards is to you. I'm like, a football field. He's like, yeah, it's not 100 yards. Maybe it's 50 yards of woods behind our house. Okay. The people who bought the lot behind us, we live in the country. Okay. They hate trees. And it was the first thing that they said to us when we met them. They were like, hi, I'm so-and-so. And we noticed how many dead trees there are in your forest. She literally gave me a number, let's say 37. And I hope you're going to have those taken down. And I was like, that's a weird way to meet people. She also asked how many of these there were. And we're pointing to my children in this neighborhood. I'm like, we're going to get along so great. And then I found out, that they're also a pharmaceutical sales rep. And I was like, which we all know how I feel. I mean, maybe you don't. I don't love them. I'm like, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. Don't go into it with preconceived notions, but this is going to be rough. So anyway, that's who lives behind us. Hates trees. We love trees. That's why we moved to the country and bought this lot that's kind of surrounded by the woods, right? Because I was like, I want to live in like a little peninsula cocoon of trees and not have to see other people until I come out of my little cocoon. She hates them. So the other day she asked, yes, um, for real. Uh, she'll never see this, so we can say that. Her name is literally Karen. I was like, you're like the when we were feeding, she's like, oh yeah, I'm Karen. I was like, my brain is melting. Um, she asked us the week she moved in. I know this is a long story, just hang with me. The week we moved in, she was like, "Hey, I want to have all the trees removed from the part that I can see, like the part that backs up to her property that are dead or that are just kind of like ugly." Because the woods, she also told me the woods weren't very uniform. She's like, "The trees are very scraggly. It's not like uniform. Some of them are crooked." I'm like, "That's a forest." Correct. She didn't like that. She said, I think we should go in and have these removed. And I was like, I'm not really into that. And she's like, your part will be $10,000. And I was like, I love how casually you say yours will be $10,000 as if I have $10,000 to my name. I was like, that's curious. I was like, well, we won't be doing that. And she was like, well, what if they fall on my property? I was like, well, then we like and damage something. I'm like, well, your house is like kind of far away. I don't think it will, but I guess if our tree fell onto your house, your homeowner's insurance would take care of it or ours would. That's why we have it. And she said that no, and that I was basically, it would save me more money to give her $10,000 I didn't have to do this now. And I said no. Anyway, that's like the last time she talked to us for a really long time because she was really mad. Then the other day, yesterday, I go outside, I hear chainsaws like super duper early in the morning. She is already at work. They are chopping down stuff in like on our property in the woods. These people with chainsaws that she hired to come out here and chop down dead trees. So they're basically like chopping down our trees. In on our property that her house happens to look at because she has no trees on her side of the property line or whatever. So I went over to the people with the chainsaws. She had never told me anything about this. And I said, hi, you don't have a permission to chop down my trees. And they were like, well, she told us like, that's what she hired us for. I'm like, yes, but you see these nice pink sticks in the ground. That means it's my yard, not hers. So she doesn't get to decide if you chop down trees in my forest. Thank you. And euphemisms. Then they kind of like stopped for a little while and like went over and were chopping like shrubs down, like that were like not on her, like that were still not really on her yard, but like were there. So I texted her, I called the company that was doing the tree chopping down, and no one would call me back. And then they just went and chopped like a bunch more down, and I didn't know what to do. So I went on Instagram and I was like, I don't know what to do. I guess I could have called the cops. I made videos of it. Now I have to decide how annoying I want to be. So if you want to weigh in on that, let me know about that. I was like, I have to live with her, right? Like they're behind us. It is 50 yards away. So like I still have a lot of forest. Do I want to be the person who goes and is like, you have to replace my trees? I have video footage of you removing my trees without my permission, or like plant new ones. Like, I don't know how to go about it, friends. I did what I thought I could do, but I also don't want to destroy our relationship because like we're never moving again. We're going to be here forever. They're probably going to be there forever. This could be a long time. Do I want to? I don't even know what I could do. Like, you know what I mean? Because we also like we don't have remember we talked about not having $10,000? We don't have money to like sue her. Can you sue someone for like damages on like you chop down some of my pretty ancient trees, and now where there used to be a forest, so I didn't have blinds in my bathroom, which I get is a personal problem, but you couldn't see our houses because there was a forest. Last night went to go take a shower and realized girlfriend chopped down all of my foliage and trees, and now you can see straight into my bathroom from their living room because all the trees are gone. And I was like, Karen, I don't have blinds yet anywhere in my house, which is, have we lived here a year? Yes. Are blinds stupidly expensive? Also, yes. When we no longer have to pay for childcare, number one thing we're going to buy immediately is blinds. But I was like, between childcare and Why are blinds so expensive? So, but we do have to find something. I think I'm going to take I have blue pads that you put under patients, puppy pads. I bought them for Holly, our dog. I think I'm going to tape one of those up in the window for temporarily and then maybe buy one blind because we really don't need that happening and looking into the shower directly from their living room. But anyway, that's my life. Yeah, I was thinking the company, I definitely would like to speak to someone because I called the company, the owner or whatever, and I was like, your people are chopping down trees in my yard and I have video footage of it. Small claims is basically free. Well, that's good to know. So maybe I will. Maybe we'll go figure out the legal system. We all know I'm interested in law. Let's go there. Oh, the relationship was destroyed long ago. Yeah. The relationship was never great. It was really pretty destroyed when she looked at my child and said, "Are there more of those? I don't like children." I didn't, or she said, "Are there more of those in this neighborhood? Are there a lot of those?" I was like, "Children?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah." This is a neighborhood that is largely geared towards just the housing types and everything would be geared towards people with families. And she said, "I was hoping there wouldn't be." And I was like, "I don't know what to say." I literally don't know how to react to that because, okay. Here we are, and telling me how many trees I had, and then telling me this whole neighborhood is filled with a lot of people with dead trees in their forests, and I really hope they cut them down. I'm like, maybe she's not crazy. Maybe she is. Here we are. The most sane suburbanite. Yeah. And there's weird, I don't know. I don't want to start something if I don't need to, if I should just let it go. And I can't tell. I'm by nature, not a very let it go type of human. And I could tell this was a big deal because even my husband was riled up. Normally I am the one, the smallest infraction. I'm like, that's it. Done. I will go confront. We will deal with this. And I get very worked up over very small things. Very, very small things. I feel very righteous about, and even this. And he's usually very level-headed and always gets annoyed. He's like, "Oh my gosh." But this, he even was he was really mad about. So there we go. Never let it go. Start something, never let it go. The calm humans are mad. That's the level that we know. We know how we're here. Did they buy a house without checking out the neighborhood? Okay. So going more into this, they knew the neighborhood, but another thing that they also told me. So this human is just, they are, they told me that they thought the caliber of people in the neighborhood were going to be different and that they were disappointed with the types of houses that people were building and the finishes that they were applying to the homes. They were like, "I just thought it would be better, that people would care more and put more effort into it." And first of all, saying, and this person built the biggest house you could possibly build, right? In this neighborhood. And they thought they were going to be more like that. And she was just like, "I just feel like people should care more and should have put more money in it." I was like, "Do you not understand that there are budgets?" That some people can't just be like, "You know what? I would in fact like to have this enormous McMansion." I had said something one time about we couldn't have, with the model that we bought, you couldn't have a 3-car garage. My husband is super duper into cars, and he had wanted, one of the things he really wanted in a house was a 3-car garage, one of them so that he could just have a project car or something like that later on down the line. And I had just said something to her in passing, and she's like, "Well, you could have bought a bigger house that could have accommodated that." And I was like, "Why didn't I think of that? If only." Okay. Oh, so there was already strife. There was already strife there. And yeah, we can't have a fence. A fence is against our neighborhood. It's in the middle of I live by Amish people. So like that's kind of the vibe of where I live. And they don't want fences because that was part of like, and everyone knew that kind of going in. You can have a small fence to like put a garden in or like for your dog behind your house, but you can't put in huge perimeter fences because then it makes it look, they didn't want it to look like, like little suburbia fence, like all of that type of thing. They wanted it to be open. And for the most part, I love that. Like I wanted it to be all like open, like our kids, except her, all the kids run through the woods, the deer run through the wood. Like there's a lot of nature and wildlife. It's a very wooded area. So like everything else about it, I love that we can't have fences actually. At first I was like, no, I want a fence. I was like, wait, no, I really don't. Cause then like all the kids, like it's like our neighborhood is kind of like olden times. Like when I grew up, it's kind of nice. You can just sort of release your children and everyone knows it's a fairly small neighborhood. So like everyone knows everybody. There's a ton of kids. You can like, they show like random kids will kind of show up at your house to like use the bathroom or grab a snack or grab a cup of water. And like, I feel comfortable letting my 5-year-old go on a bike ride, like you know what I mean? Like you can just let them go out in the woods and they find other people in the woods and they're just being crazy. But downside, I can't build a fence from Karen. So drop a rope with a sign. So no Karen allowed. I'll plant a hedge of poison ivy. There is so much poison ivy. Do you guys remember last summer I got such bad poison ivy, like such bad poison ivy. It became systemic, which I didn't even know was a thing that you could happen. And I was in bed for like weeks. So I would have enough poison ivy to build a hedge. I was very paranoid yesterday because in my rage to go talk to these people, I just stomped through the forest. Like, nope. Normally when I enter the forest now after the poison ivy experience, I like I have my get up. I have like a hat pulled way down. I have a scarf around my neck. I have my gloves on. I have, full body coverage I'm wearing an apron. I have socks pulled up to my knees, like 2 pairs of socks. Like Rage Liz yesterday that looked up after I like my kids were like, look, mommy, like someone's cutting our trees down. I was like, what? Immediately outside the middle. It's like very cold here, very wintry. Was not dressed in like a short sleeve, like nightgown. The people cutting the trees, they probably thought I did probably look insane because I was wearing rainbow Crocs, barefoot in a nightgown. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I had like my silk cap that I sleep in to keep my curls. and armed with a bunch of rage, just filled with rage, swinging a poop bag, like because my dog was also like out there, like so pooping. So that's where we are. That's where we are. Here we go. More steroids for Liz incoming. Here we go. Roid rage. Here we go. And install a Bluetooth speaker near her window and then play random noises and music throughout the day and night. Oh, hedges. Hedges a good idea. Right now, there's the thing that's like the most baffling about this, right? Is a hedge is a very good idea. There is a silt sock. So it looks like a huge roll of hay that's covered in netting because we live by like protected wetland. And so until we all have grass established, because they're new houses, they can't remove that. So it's literally like a hedge. And that's where the stakes are that say, this is your yard, this is mine. They just came over it. I was like, I don't even know what to do. I was going to call the police. My husband was like, no, do not call the police. Calm down. Oh, so maybe I'll sue her for a bunch of small evergreens. Like, will you please just go buy a bunch of really tall Christmas trees and plant them so that I can shower in peace and don't have to look at your giant house. The best thing to do is hugelkultur planting. I don't know what this is, but I feel like we should Google hugel. Is that part of the name? Culture planning. Oh, why aren't you working? My keyboard sometimes just decides that it's going to take time off. It's like, you've left me alone for like 20 minutes. I'm going to take a nice nap. Hugel culture. What we're doing? Planting. Hugel culture. Oh, is this when you like plant with nature? Yeah, she would love that. Absolutely love that. This is what we're looking at. Where you go and find. I am going to make it's like permaculture. Oh, good. Okay, so this. You plant sticks. You put turf over it. Oh, good. So like an actual yeah, we could do this. Rotten wood, hay bales, chicken manure. She's going to love this. She's going to love it. And then grass clippings and then put grass over it. And it makes a nice little barrier. Oh, Adrian, this is a good idea. Let's do it. It's high too. It's like chest high. And it would be very in place because I like to garden. So this could just be another eccentric thing that I bring to the table. And none of the other neighbors would be like, oh, that's weird. They'd be like, oh, yeah, that's just Liz's hugelkultur garden. Like, of course it is, along with her like weird witch fence that she built last year. So if last year, Karen she probably already doesn't, I mean, I know she doesn't like me, but part of the reason she probably doesn't, Matt Stewart, lawsuit fund. Thanks, friend. We'll find out how expensive civil suits are. And they'll be like, my damages, my trees. You don't understand. I'm charging you when they ask you like what the suit like damages were for your lawsuit. I'm like, well, I had to buy blinds, Your Honor. I had to buy blinds that I didn't have to buy when there used to be trees there. And now I have to look at her house. So that's inappropriate. But last year, anyway, my witch fence that would go really well with this hugelkultur berm type of thing. Yeah, giant berm garden. I'm here for it. I just as we are, low budget lifing, I was looking at the price of building like a trellis. And I was like, oh, that was when wood was really expensive. And I was like, we're not going to be able to do, let's not do that. But you know what I can do? I have a lot of trees on my property. So I just went to the woods. I wanted something that my blackberries that I was planting could climb on. And I was like, I'm going to create a trellis. I created a trellis by twining together vines and logs that I found on my yard. And I thought it looked great. Other people may compare it, have said that looks like a witch's something. They're like, it looks like it's like a witch's altar that you have over there. I was like, I think it looks like a rustic trellis. So it would go well with that. I also have just like random planters, random little planters all over. I've started little very into like just spreading wildflower seeds all over to like create barriers. And she doesn't, other people out there like, this is like not super planned. I'm like, we're going for the country cottage look. It's going to be fine. Now I have the beginnings of a garden set out, but it's like not really done. So it just, my yard looks like a mess. My neighbors probably think I'm crazy. The lot across from us is up for sale. The home developer probably hates us. They're like, just please don't look across the street. She also looks crazy because I go and I should probably just wear new, like real clothes. Guys, I'm a hot mess on here and in real life. Hot mess. This is like the vibe. I'll get you, my pretty. Everyone that tries to move in across the street, I run over to in like good faith. I always feel like if I was buying a house, I would want to know like what's the T on the neighborhood, right? It also just happens to be that I work from home. So I don't ever look super presentable. So I always approach these people who are coming to look at their like a potential property across the street. I look a little bit of a mess. So I like this poor person comes running out of their house with like all these weird gardening things all over in like compression socks and rainbow Crocs. Hair's crazy. Like in a sweatshirt. Who knows? Just we might be wearing like a knee-length nightgown happening. And I'm like, hi, you want to know what's up about the neighborhood? Anything, you would be our neighbor. How cool. Let me tell you more about this place. Like, here's what you want to know about the building process. Surprisingly, no one has gone through with the building process on that lot. Why? I cannot imagine. I cannot fathom. Uh, cannot imagine. Um, and I did record, so I do have a lot of video of them. That was a good idea. My mom had called me and my sister. Everyone saw my video, my thing, and were like rageful for me. That was also when I knew it was probably a bigger problem than just a me problem, because normally everyone's kind of like, they go along with it. They're like, yeah, that's really annoying. And I know they go back and they're like, wow, that girl gets riled up about the weirdest stuff. um, but I feel passionately about a lot of different things, but this other people did. So I do have a video of them, like where you can see where my property, like the sticks end, and of them doing it to them. That's what I had like emailed the owner of the company being like, hey, my dude. That's what I had texted to my neighbor being like, hey, but here we are. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, Justine says, I hope someone who makes witches fences is my neighbor, better than a Karen. Anyway, I mean, I do promise to share vegetables. And it has been like a selling feature. The people who bought the house catty corner to us saw my rustic gardening, and that she was like, I figured you were cool. She was like, yeah, that looked real weird. And I was like, I'm here for that. Oh my, just like one day the yard's going to look really nice. And I just keep telling the neighbors that I really like, I'm like, give me like 5 years, friends. It's got to grow into itself. We're going to have fruit trees. We're going to have like a little like mini homestead. I was going to try to hide chickens behind my house, but now Karen and I are struggling. So I don't know how that's going to work. I might have to, build a better blockage of trees before I attempt that. But I was like, this is going to be the place, we're going to have fun here. It's going to look nice in like 5 years. We just got to get it there. We'll get it there. For now, I'm bribing people. I'm like, send your children over and I'll teach them to garden. Okay. We'll just get messy. It's going to be fun. Send them over. It's going to be a great time. Great time. So we will see, we'll see how that goes. This is what I was someone else, my mom, someone had said this. They were like, don't, like, if you complain about it, just be careful. Cause what if she sends us the bill? But I was like, could she really do that since it was all on our property? I don't think so. That I would certainly fight because we don't have enough money. And we didn't want it. Yes, the veggie exchange and the rainbow Crocs. Yeah, literally. They were the people catty corner to us. I encountered her in the prime of, we had the full sun hat because it was summer. So we had the sun hat, we had the socks around the outsides of the leggings tucked into the rainbow Crocs with the gardening apron on, and the gardening gloves up to our elbows. She encountered that version of Summer Liz, and she thought that was a good sign. She's like, I saw your weird fence and your get up. And I was like, this is going to be fine. This is going to be fine. Here we go. That's a mighty large chicken coop, Karen built. Just saying. She took free reign over my property. Oh yeah. So I think I cannot help it. Right. So one thing, we don't have a HOA or anything, but somehow we're not technically supposed to have chickens technically in the bylaws, which I have to figure out, like, how enforceable are bylaws for a community. I think that what that means is like the community has to enforce it. I don't think I can get a fine. Everyone else, I have literally talked to every other person in the neighborhood, and all 27 of the houses are totally fine with it. They're like, other people are already bringing in chickens. So I was like, I feel like no one else will care except for this one house. And I can't help if I build a really nice chicken house and chickens happen to come live in it. Okay. I don't know how the chickens got there. We have wild turkeys. I know they're not the same, but just because I haven't seen a wild chicken yet doesn't mean that they're not out there, and they might not end up in my chicken coop that I may or may not one day happen to build. Okay? You know what I mean? There we go. I dream of turning our neighborhood into some weird little commune. Just, there's like a different property that can have that has a farm on it. So the way our subdivision is basically a huge, 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 like a farm that the people passed away and their children didn't want to maintain it. And so they sold it to this developer saying, like, you can develop it. We want it to be like big plots, blah, 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 blah. So there is a farm on it. And the people who buy that are the people across from are the people that they're not across from us, but they're like one behind. So you bet anyone who goes near that, I will also be speaking to when they go to sell that. And I'll be like, I need you to tell me how you feel about like cows, miniature donkeys, pigs. What kind of animals will you be allowing here? Because we will help as a neighborhood fund this keeping of animals. And then our children will learn to raise animals. And we're just going to start. It'll be all part of our farm experience that our children are going to be forced to have. We will not have roosters. Yeah, no, I like to sleep way too much of that. And they seem real mean. Okay. I am on chicken TikTok and chicken, whatever, Instagram. They seem real mean. I'm like, no, I will go. No, other people breed chickens in my area. I will go get the chicken, like the little tiny chickies. I'll go get the chickies and we'll go from there. So that's my dream. That's my dream. Probably should have bought more land and just done it all by myself, but I wanted neighbors. So that was we thought about maybe going and getting like a ton of land and doing all of that when we built a house, but I really wanted the neighborhood vibe where my kids could have other kids and we can go walking and I wouldn't be as creeped out because it is kind of spooky, even just having like the few people who do live here. Like there's just like a lot of nature coming from someone I grew up in Southern California where there was really not a lot of nature. And then I have progressively gotten a little bit more rural as I've grown up. And I'm like, maybe I like foxes a lot more than I like people. But even out here, there's like a lot of nature. I was like, I don't know if I want to be totally by myself on a farm. I kind of like being able to like have neighbors where I can be like, oh, this makes me nervous. But then again, your neighbors can be a crapshoot when they don't like trees and you live in a forest, which is weird. I want weird tree children. That's really all I want. It's just for my humans to grow up. I think this is normal. Open a petting zoo on Karen's property. Karen is putting in a pool that she has already announced that it's not a community pool. I was like, again, weird statement to just come out and be like, I will be putting a pool in. No one can come in it. Okay. Okay. That's a weird flex, but thank you. Thank you. I mean, animals don't generally chop down your trees, beavers excluded. No, we don't have, I don't know. Maybe there's beavers. There is a creek that runs like through part of our neighborhood. They might have beavers. We have a lot of what are kind of like land beavers. They kind of like the little woodchucks with their little butts. They're so like, I know they're like wreak havoc on gardens and everything. So I am figuring out currently a fence that will keep out I have like, there's a lot of defense that apparently I need to put up for this garden as the people who live in our local area, like they walk by and they're like, oh, you're building a garden. They're like, well, you have to dig a fence that's really deep to keep the woodchucks or whatever they are out. And then you have to also build something so the rabbits can't get in because they'll try to get in, and the squirrels and the chipmunks. And then you have to have some kind of aviary cover because there's so many birds. They're like, they'll just come and eat like a bunch of your food. I was like, okay, so like a cage. This is sounding a lot harder. This is just a lot harder. Wild wandering chickens. I love the idea of this actually happening. I'd be down for it. It's like the true definition of free range chickens. There are a lot of this is not as abstract as I once thought. I used to joke about this, that I was just going to build a chicken house and chickens would come to me. If you build it, they will come. But in our area, I often have to stop for chickens that are just in the road because like people's chickens do just like in their little flock wander all the time. It takes forever. Our preschool, if all is well, is 5 minutes away, like from our house. It usually takes like 10 or 12 because you have to stop for like, there's random dogs. There's a lot of Amish people and their horses get out a lot. So there's like always horses, like just like on the road. And then you're like taking pictures and sending it to the Facebook group, being like, whose horse got out today? Making sure the horse is fine. There's geese, the crazy Canadian geese. There's geese all over, and they just stare and stand at you. There's pigs that like, I now know the name of several pigs that often get out from the local farms and will sun themselves. Like they just lay down on the road because it's really warm and it's really cold everywhere else. So then I was like, when did I become the person in the Facebook group who's like, hey, Peggy's in the road again. You might want to come by and try to get her out of the way. Here we go. It goes from urban to suburban to legit rural very quickly. It really does. I was a little bit unprepared for the level of, for that level, but it's great. I would love to get a greenhouse one day. One day I will absolutely have a greenhouse. You know who will probably absolutely love it. Free range to wander into my oven. I don't know. Do you eat your egg laying chickens like when they're older? I feel like I would have a hard time doing that. I'm not that much of a farmer because then I would be like, oh, Gertrude and I, like we've been together for so long. I don't know how long chickens even live, but I feel like that would be very hard. As one of the chickens, kind sir, can you tell me why are you crossing the road? Oh, my children are at the age right now where they tell jokes, but the jokes don't make sense, but they like think they're so funny. And all of the jokes are that like, why did the chicken cross the road? Because it had to go to the bathroom. Just like die. That's what that made me think of. Anyway, sorry. Yes, you do eat the older ones. I don't know if I can do it. I'm not made for this. This would be me. I would have like a geriatric like chicken. I don't know what it is. Like, what would you even call it? I was gonna say a convent. It's not really a convent. Little geriatric chicken group where people could just send me their chickens because I wouldn't be able to get rid of any of mine. I would be the worst farmer ever too, Irene, because I would just have all like I would never be able to ever like. I mean, I do eat chicken. I know where it's coming. When they quit laying, they become dinner. No, not mine. I would have a bunch of old grumpy chickens, and we would all sit on my porch together. We would just sit there and be like, "Get off my lawn!" I'll go and peck people. It'll be great. It'll be great. A chicken sniff. Skilled nursing facility. Yes, that's where we would be. Maybe that's my calling in life. I left. What did you used to do? Well, I used to be a nurse practitioner where I cared for humans in primary care. And now I run a long-term care facility over my septic field for elderly chickens. Sundowning chickens. What would that even look like? You will be welcome in my chicken nursing home. I feel like it would be great. And then every now and then I could take my nursing home, my like long-term care chickens to a long-term care place because they would obviously love humans and they would just be like the joy, right? They would just be so joyful to take. It would be like therapy chickens. Maybe I'll have to get them diapers. I think you can have diapers for your chickens. Who is it? Jen Hamilton on TikTok, the nurse, labor and delivery nurse who does like all the things and has funny TikToks. She has an indoor chicken and it wears diapers. That'll be my first message to her ever. Be like, hi, Jen. On the off chance you see this, I need you to tell me more about chicken diapers. They are good for pest control. That's very true. Maybe I'll phrase it that way to myself, but really, we all know why I would keep it. They call it midnight. That's fine. I'm a night owl. I'm up anyway. Do my children wake up at the butt crack of dawn? Yes. Am I still awake at midnight, scrolling aimlessly on my phone? Also, yes. Also, yes. All right. Well, yes, we need Jen to help. Yeah. the collab we all need. I hear the ratios in chicken sniffs are real low, real dangerously low. Sometimes they also employ like very underage workers at these chicken sniffs, right? Like, figure a 5-year-old can go and help me take care of some chickens. Long term care, very low. There's no pay. You just don't get paid at all. It's worse. Oh, they have to make a program to become a veterinary nurse practitioner. No, can't do it. Can't. No, can't do it. Can't see animals like being sad. I can handle humans being sad, not even that well, but like animals being sad, no, friend. No, can't do it. I do like how we treat our animals better than our humans, though. Point one for veterinary medicine is we are kinder to our animals in their end of life care than we are here. No, humane people do not eat their laying chickens. Absolutely not. See, this would be my vibe. I'd be like, how? You like know Elaine so well. She's been giving you eggs for so long. Oh, yeah. Come to my commune. Kaiser nurse willing to quit and work on Liz's commune. We really are. I'm trying to find we have a bunch of teachers, we have tech people, people with we have a dentist, a vet tech, we have all sorts of people coming into our commune. So I'm like, we really could just close the border, close the doors and be like, that's it. We've had enough of other people. Goodbye. Here we are. Best of luck to all of you. That's what we've got. Oh yeah, not Elaine. I don't know why Elaine seems like a very chickeny name to me, but I understand. Maybe if it was if it was just like a very emotional, wild, and kind of annoying chicken, we could call it Elaine. Elaine! No, Elaine, what are you doing? Yeah, we need a midwife. Yeah. Because so far I'm the only healthcare person, which is like shocking. There's another nurse, but they I don't think they have anything to do with having babies, and they're more into I think aesthetics. I'm not really sure. They're like the mystery people. But there is one other nurse. But I was like, how am I the only healthcare person so far? I do have like a little clinic that I run. People bring their humans to me. It's kind of nice and fun. It's very free. It's very not sustainable. But we do need a midwife. So that's perfect. We also will need, Scott, because we don't have any emergency room people. And I'm just not very good at it. I'm trying, but that's just not my forte. So if you would like that, oh, good. Sandy will run our chicken hospice program. This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. We have lesbians, Adrian, but your legal advice would be helpful. And you're always welcome to come and build things. So that's perfect. We have shockingly 2 households. Just for the demographic of the area, I was very pleasantly surprised that we already have 2. And the second family, I felt bad for them. They were like, we're going to be the token lesbians. We're like, actually, fun fact. We already have token lesbians. Thank you so much for being here, though. But you can come and build things. We very much need that. I need my chicken coop to be built, right? So we do that. I could do postpartum. Perfect. Shipping news. This would be a weird place to join the live stream or read the comments, but welcome. welcome. There we go. All right. So I build sets in high school. Awesome. Perfect. This sounds like a very cool job. We do not have much of an arts department currently in our education system. We are very science heavy. So we welcome the arts with open arms. Okay, we can do this. We might need to build more houses. It's going to be fine. Alora's going to help with the garden. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be great, guys. This is cook. Good. Because I do not cook. I do not do that. I have your ICU needs covered. I don't know what you think is happening on our commune that we need ICU, but it's good to know that if we ever do really close the door down, we'll have you as a very analytical, detail-oriented human. And we appreciate you, Adkempt, because we have a lot of dreamers. So we need someone with like a rational mind to come in and label things and make it organized and see through the chaos. Okay. Just ignore most of my existence. It's going to be fine. Don't let us stress you out. Perfect. We actually do need a music teacher. I was thinking that the other day. I grew up playing piano and taking lessons. I was like, I should probably figure out, I would like my child to learn how to play the piano. My children, only one is of the age where we could do that. Do you guys, are there like, other than, I guess I should look for a music teacher. Are there like online things that help your kids learn how to do music? Because I feel like there might be now at this point in life something where I could like help her learn via, I don't know, an app, or is that something you should learn in person? I can figure it out, but that's a different tangent of I started playing the piano, I think when I was in first grade, but I was 6, so she's almost 6. So we should probably start pushing in that direction and force her to play the piano, just like I was forced. Teach her the flute. I will, but I think a piano is a good base. So I play quite a few instruments because I was cool. I was the band human. And the orchestra human and the marching band human slash theater type things. So very cool, obviously. And I feel like if you learn the piano, it's a good basic because you learn both the treble and the bass clef, so the right hand and the left hand, right? You can read all types of music because they're different to read, and it gives you a good foundation. So that's why I'm going to force the piano on her. And then later she can play the flute or whatever she would like to play if she would like, but she'll have the foundation of all of this. Of all of that. Band geeks unite. Yes. There are a lot of people in band that are now on YouTube. Like that's got to be some kind of pipeline. I think it's because the cool people, like people who were like cool in high school, either like really went off the deep end or are now like they're just still very cool, right? And so they don't have time to do things like YouTube, which takes up like a lot of time. But us band people, I mean, we had to rely on being able to like, I don't know, be somewhat good at talking and our personality because we weren't we didn't know, at least I didn't have a lot of other things I was bringing to the table. Okay. So we had to start there. So, and now we have YouTube channels and I love us for it. Yamaha is a great start for kids piano, if anything near you. I have all of my Yamaha books. So I do have that. My mom had saved them. So I'm borrowing them from her, but I have all of I think is that what it is? The Yamaha like books starting from like very, very basic all the way through. So I just don't know if I want to be the one to teach her because I don't remember loving my piano teacher growing up. Right. And we have like the piano. It's not a real piano. So you can plug in headphones to it. Excellent. That way I don't have to hear her playing when we're starting. We don't need that. Suzuki is good to start with a violin. That's good to know. I can play many things. I cannot play a string instrument to save my soul. Can't do it. My husband can play guitar. But if she plays violin, I am no help to her. Absolutely none, because I'm like, I don't understand the strings and you're doing two separate things. And what? There are not like on a flute, there's like a bajillion buttons you can press to make all the different noises. On a violin, there's like 4 strings, 3 strings. I don't know, not nearly enough. Not enough. So that's a mess. Alora said, funny enough, I'm deciding when I'm going to be growing and deciding I'm going to start my seeds while I'm listening. I started some of mine today. That's exciting. Let me know what you're growing. My 5-year-old helped me pick. So it's a very eclectic bunch so far. Tomorrow night, when I'm not doing a live stream, I'm going to go through and like round it out and be like, maybe we don't need 26 bell peppers. Very fun idea. So far we have like bell peppers and sunflowers. I was like, okay, here we go. But they're very fun. She's very into it this year, which is very fun. Yes, woodwinds. Woodwinds and I are friends. I can produce sound that is sort of okay on like a trumpet, but mostly woodwinds. Flute was my thing. And then I kind of filled in wherever else we had holes. They were like, do you know how to play an oboe? I was like, I do not. They were like, well, you go in that practice room and you have 4 hours. I need you to play it tomorrow in this concert. I was like, well, I guess I will learn how to play an oboe. Here we go. I do very much like bell peppers. So they will be eaten. It's just a wild ratio. I was like, I'd like to plant some tomatoes. She's like, I don't like tomatoes. I was like, well, I do. The little tiny cherry ones. So here we are. Clarinet, yes, clarinet. Played the saxophone. Learned that in the pre-internet era of just being bored one summer. And my mom had a saxophone that she played when she was in high school. I was like, wow, is that what we did before the internet? Because we didn't have any internet when I was in 7th grade, 8th grade. So one summer I was like, I guess I'll learn how to play this. Here we are. I love all the band people here. Band people unite. That weird science guy, are you currently practicing as an NP? No, but I think I'm going to try. So I have not in 2 years, I think. Yeah, I'm renewing my licensure, which is crazy. My certification, which is my 5-year mark. And so I haven't practiced in about a year and a half. It'll be 2 years this summer because after COVID, my soul fell out of my body and I was like, I can't do this. And I needed a little bit of a break, but I have been doing, I don't know. I'm thinking I want to put my toe back in the water very part-time. And so I have been sprucing up my resume to go by all of the private practices in my area and see if I can, I don't know. But at the same time, a lot of the issues, so I left primary care. I only wanted to become a nurse practitioner to work in primary care, and only to realize that most people can't afford the care that they need. And you're spending all of your days trying to find weird workarounds to make this work. Right. And that like was soul crushing mixed with COVID, just made me sad. So I stopped. And then when we moved, I intended to get another job, but we were like moving and I didn't want to establish at a practice somewhere only to bail. And then I got the job that I have now, which is like Truvia, which is like online nursing education, which I like, but I don't know. I kind of start to have the itch again now. I'm like doing all of my CEUs for my recertification for my nurse practitioner degree, like certification thing. And I like it. I like learning about all the primary care stuff. I definitely miss like seeing patients, having those relationships. I don't miss a lot of it. I don't miss the charting, the crazy, like trying to figure out how I can like jerry rig a treatment plan for you because you can't afford to go see cardiology. But I miss it, you know, I do indeed miss it. I miss getting out of I just miss having those conversations. So, I am thinking about maybe going and sending my application to a bunch of pretty much only private practices in the area because that's where I worked before. They were very flexible, and seeing if I could do like 2 days a week, like super part-time. So I still have my soul, and just seeing if maybe I would like it that way. Again, at a private practice, they're usually a little bit more loosey-goosey. They're usually more like patient focused. They joined a private practice. They started a private practice because they wanted more time with their patients. The issues are still there. I don't know. So I'm thinking of doing that part-time, but I also don't know how walking into an office and being like, all right, look, I will come work for you. I want to be paid this much. I want only to work 2 days a week. I want 5 weeks off, or like 10 days. So like 5 weeks off. I want X, Y, Z. I want this. Like, I don't know how well that's going to go. So I'll keep you posted if I keep going. But like, I would not take a job. Like, since I have a job, right? I'm not like desperate for one. My first nurse practitioner job, I was pretty desperate for a job. So I've learned a lot since then of what I can ask for. So now I feel like I'm going into it probably asking for like too much. Like, who's going to be like, oh yeah, we'd love to like do all of this paperwork and get you signed up through insurance so you can be here like 2 days a week. But maybe they need someone just 2 days a week. I would do 3 days if it was like school hours. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see if I end up going back and dabbling in that. I say go for it. They would be lucky to have you. Oh, well, thanks. I think they would be lucky to have me. Do they think they would be lucky to have me? Unsure. Very unsure. Um, I heard Amazon is hiring. Yeah. I don't want to do telehealth. I know that. I looked into the company. I was very far along in the process with a company that Amazon is working with now to provide their primary care. And it was way too regimented. It was just way too like, if this, you do this. And there's so much more nuance in healthcare because the same thing doesn't work for every human. And I desperately miss sitting next to people and like, it's not, you can't really say like I miss touching people like not like that. I miss like just sitting next to people holding hands and like or like just being there with people. I miss that. I miss that very much. So there you go. That's what we want. Hydration clinic. Do you know me at all? Oh no, that's like the antithesis of who I am as a human. um, this is the other thing. Like, Irene says they're so glad they can work from home. I miss face to face interaction, but not the commute. It would have to be really close. So I Googled the other day, there's 2 or 3 family practices within like 15 or 20 minutes of my house without pigs and chickens in the road. So who knows what the commute really is. And that would really be all I would be interested in. I'm also not interested in working at the big healthcare center in the area. So my pool is small. So I'm like, I don't know how well this is gonna go. Be like, hey, here's all of my demand. You are not hiring. That being said, which is really honestly a good way to go about getting a job is even if people are not hiring, just going in and my plan, if you're curious, would be to go in and just ask to talk to, introduce myself, drop off my resume, say, family nurse practitioner. I've worked, for a couple of years in primary care. I'm looking for something part-time. I'd love to get in contact with you if you're ever needing to expand your practice. Right. So yeah, I'm going to try. We'll try maybe. Oh, I am like, I have a lot of spine in a lot of areas of life, but not for like primary care. I was a total softie. I was like a total pushover. Yeah, I love my crazy ass patients, bless their hearts. That's how I felt. I was like, these people are crazy and I love them. And I got burned out super fast in primary care because like I have no ability to chill and not do the most. Like when people need the most because they deserve healthcare and then they weren't getting it because they couldn't afford it. I'm like, that's fine. I'll learn how to be a cardiologist. It's fine. Don't even worry about me over here Googling everything until 3 o'clock in the morning. That's me. I'm a little cranky curmudgeon with my elderly chickens on my porch until it's like my own primary care patients where I'm like, oh, you want me to do that for you? Okay. No, it's fine. I'll literally lay over and let this train steamroll on top of me. A mobile rural clinic would be super cool. I just have Pennsylvania doesn't have, I wouldn't feel comfortable independently practicing. There's none around me like that. If someone wants to open one in my area, I'll join you. I'll work for you part-time. But I don't want to, I have no interest in working a ton. So I wouldn't want to like open anything, it would be cool if I could just, magically, if I had more experience, just an under the table commune in my neighborhood office where people could just like slide me $20. I mean, I already do it. I just do it for free. So for one's by, they're like, is this an ear infection? Do I really have to go? Nope. Probably think I like never send, everyone comes to me. They're like, do I need to send my children to an actual person for this? And my answer is like almost always no. They're probably like, do you ever send people to a primary, to an office? I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Rural clinic. I think rural medicine would be interesting. You have to be really scrappy with it, right? Because you just have a ton less resources. What I would really love to do, so I live by Amish country, is go and shadow their healthcare providers. I just think that would be fascinating. Not for anything like to do. I just think it would be, you know, so interesting to go and see like how their midwives practice, how their like regular providers do their thing in the settings that they work in and how that works in. That would be fascinating. That would be a fun YouTube series. Slash, probably not good to like exploit people like that on the internet. I'll just go and I'll learn. It'll be a fun time for me. Um, yeah. So there's that. If you ever become a reverend, you may legally circumvent some laws. Just FYI. Well, that's fascinating. So we won't call it a clinic, we'll call it a church. And you can come to confess your strep throat to me. And in order to repent, you have to take this antibiotic. Sounds very fair. Sounds very fair. Go barter with the Amish. Won't get paid in dollars, but food and chicken coop done. Genius. Genius. I may or may not need a chicken coop. I'll go and do a bunch of home visits. Okay. And then if you could deliver to my little church up on this hill, okay, a chicken coop, that would be great. They do. Amish people build everything by us. It's awesome. Can we all job shadow Nurse Liz field trip? 100 people should just come to your job. No, the people who do follow me, my preceptees, they are all probably like, this experience is insane because they get to see firsthand the chaos that is my life. And one of them, I did have one person who signed up to precept with me, did not know who I was, like didn't know who I was. Like, why would they? I am like the tiny influencer, whatever, not even an influencer. Between signing up to do a preceptorship with me in nurse practitioner clinic and then actually doing it, found my YouTube videos because she was looking up for something about NP school. She did tell me towards the end, she's like, this was different. She's like, so then she did know who I was. She's like, you are much more put together on the internet than you are in real life. I was like, yeah. I feel like now I appear a lot more disheveled. Like back then I had a much more kept appearance because I didn't want anything to reflect poorly on a practice I was working at. So I've let my true self show a lot more in the last like 2 years now that I'm not working in primary care. So, but that was back when Liz looked a little bit more put together and sounded more put together on the internet. Right. But yeah, she's like, you're a little bit scattered. Like, yeah, I'm a lot scattered, but she learned a lot. I hope. She said she did. We're just going to go with that. Oh, I was less crunchy back then. Yeah. I was always in my soul crunchy, but there's definitely been a lot more unhinged now. Just we really lean into it. Back then it would have been like, oh, chicken's fun, cute idea. Now I'm like, yeah, barn in the backyard. Let's just do it. Oh, you're an influencer because I decided to go to nursing school because of your videos. Justine, that's super. Well, I hope that is the direction that I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy. But that's super cool. Stand up for yourself. You're going to do great things. You would probably see some different things like maple syrup, urine disease, and other inborn errors of metabolism. It would be very different working in that kind of a community. We're very much in squirrel mode, very much. The last hour has been. I should just delete this off of the video. Have this be a fun thing we all experienced and no one else on the internet ever needs to see. They'll be like, wow, I clicked on this video to learn about this sugar. Now what is this? Talking about weird chicken religions. Oh, let's see. Guadalupe says, Nurse Liz, go get yourself some slack. I think I've been following your channel since 2017, mainly because you were one of the first nursing channels on YouTube. Your channel and Nurse Blake's were literally trailblazers. Oh, thanks, friend. Yeah, I literally made mine because there was nobody else that was like not 20. You know what I mean? And that was talking about stuff like that. And there was nobody really talking about NP school. And I was in NP school. So I was like, we'll talk about that. And nursing from which is totally fine to have a younger perspective. But I was like, Um, I wanted there to be someone I saw something that I could like talk about nursing things from a perspective of someone who, oh, sorry, I bonked you, who had been doing it for a few minutes. You know what I mean? And now I feel very old because now all the people who were like really young back then, all the nursing people, like very much still in nursing school, doing all the things, are now like very much adults, getting married, doing like all the things. Like, wow. And I am a very different human than I was back then. So that's always interesting. I've thought many times about just creating a new channel and starting in a different, like just doing more of what we're doing now, but going on. Because a lot of people I think find my old stuff and then are like, oh, this is great. And then see current like disillusioned Liz and are like, something has happened here. There, these two things are not the same. But I agree, Irene. I think a lot of us have changed in last year. Speaking for myself, I realize what's important these days. Yeah, I think it's normal to like change, just very, very different. But I'm too lazy to do anything different. So here we are. It's just going to stay the same, and then people are just going to be confused. Oh, also, I mean, having listened to loads of your content, it sure is helping me to stay sane during school. Good job. Good job. You're doing great. You're doing great, Mel. You really are. You're going to do awesome things. Um, I just had I just had a patient. I thought you said you had a baby today. I was like, excuse me, what? Excuse me, what? I just had a patient have a baby today whose birthday was 2004. Oh, so the patient who was having the baby, their birthday was in 2004. Yeah. 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 I worked in peds. So all the time I would have, for some reason, the newer birthdays, I was like, oh yeah, they're a baby. They're born in like 2019. But then there was like all the teenagers who were like giving you sass back. And then they were born like well within the time that I was an adult, like a functioning human. I was like, oh my God, like 2004. You were like, wait, what? I remember I was doing interesting things in like when you're like, oh, okay. Yep. I was making real choices in 2004. That's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Oh, it was nothing having to do with what you said. It was my inability to focus on my channel has definitely changed. I'm sticking around for the ride. I appreciate you. Who knows where it's going next? I don't know. I certainly don't know. We will see. All right, friends. Well, this was an adventure. Thanks for being here. I don't know. Should I chop it off? Should I just edit it on the background and we'll just pretend that this only happened between all of us? We'll have to see. YouTube hates it when people don't watch. They want you to have longer retention, like video retention, so people watch like the whole thing. Obviously, most people will not watch the whole thing because they'll be like, this is a weird, this is a weird tangent. That's not what I came for. But also, it's kind of fun. I like watching these. From other people's channels. I'm like, wow, that spiraled. You had 20 minutes of information and then an hour and 10 minutes of insanity. We'll see. We'll see what we do. It might be like a fun little thing that just we did. Oh, who knows? We'll see. Can the next topic be about travel nursing? One day we can do a video on travel nursing. The next topic that's going to be on Friday is I have a bunch of I have to find people who are travel nurses is the basic gist of it. And we can do a panel on travel nursing. I've never been a travel nurse. It's my nightmare. I'm a creature of habit. I'm like, I need to have my people. I need to have my place. I need to know what microwave is the best. I need to know where I can go to the bathroom. I need to know where I can cry. I need to know where the blanket warmer, like where all my stuff is, and I can't be moving. Okay. I'm very creature of habit. So I cannot talk about travel nursing, but I can find people who are travel nurses. If you're a travel nurse and you would ever like to be on a video and chat about travel nursing, by all means, please do email me here. Where'd it go? Here we go. Nurse Liz, YT for YouTube at gmail.com. And we can chat. We might have a panel of just travel nurses and you guys can ask all your questions and I'll just sit there and be like, great points. Great points all around. I have nothing to add. So there you go. And I think, oh, good. Scott to travel nursing, Mr. Midwife. So we already have this. Perfect. We already have this covered. Mama nurse does travel nursing. Yeah, mama nurse is like doing all the things right now. Um, Mama nurse might be a travel nurse. There we go. So there we go. Um, I need to know I won't get the worst. I was diagnosed with ADHD last week, and now I know why I enjoy the tangents and sudden topic changes. It's like a little insight into your own brain. It's like take a left here, take a right here, jump over the creek. Here we go. There we are. So, yes, we will talk about travel nursing at some point this Friday. I have a bunch of random kind of like the news ones that we do where we just go over different things, but it's mostly filled with updates of different things we've covered before. We're going to find updates to it, right? So all the things court cases we've covered previously, the ongoing nurse fraud type of things, like updates to those things, as well as some good news. There's been some interesting new, like good things that have come out lately. And then I think that's mostly it. It's mostly updates that I just thought would be fun to like have a chill stream on Friday with our panel people and just updates. Talk about updates, see if they want to join my cult church of chickens on a hill. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. And that's what we got. All right, friends. Well, I think that's going to do it for the night. I'm still looking at these Hugo Coulter things that Adrian sent me, and I'm intrigued and I want to build one. What if I surrounded my entire property with a weird burb type of thing to protect myself? And then we could sled on it in the winter, right? That seems like fun. You could attach a hose and make it like a slip and slide during the summer. Sounds great. All right. Well, anyway, that was very productive. Thanks for hanging out with me. Remember that you, my friends, are more than enough. You are not alone. There's lots of other band nerds out there just like us, and we're all going to be totally fine. And you can do all the hard things. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, and I'll see you maybe on Friday. Bye, friends. I don't know why I've been playing with this clip this whole time. That probably was annoying, and I apologize.